In terms of full disclosure, I'm kind of a bigwig. I sit on the Great Rivers Greenway board. I represent one of the three people who represent St. Charles. Great Rivers Greenway is an organization that is partly funded by taxpayers after a taxpayer voted for a sales tax to fund bike trails and parks as well as the arch grounds.
We're connecting the region with a network of greenways in St. Louis City,
Right.
St. Louis County, and St. Charles County.
Right. And so we spend all sorts of taxpayer dollars to help the arch, as well as connecting all these bike paths and creating bike paths.
Exactly.
And what's coming up this weekend?
Well, this weekend we've got two big events, but the one I'm here to talk about is the Buffalo Soldiers and Bicycle event, which is at the Mary Meachum Freedom Crossing, which is on the Mississippi Greenway, also known as the Riverfront Trail.
Right.
It's about 3 miles north of Biddle Street.
Just north of the arch, just north of the Eads Bridge.
Exactly.
Is it north or south of the Stan Musial Bridge? I think it's just north of
It's
there.
north.
Yeah.
It's north.
Yeah.
So Biddle Street's just a little bit north of, Laclede's Landing.
Right.
And it's really an amazing place. I'm a lifelong St. Louisan, and the first time I went up there, you just see views of the Mississippi River you've never seen before.
Right.
And most St. Louisans don't know the historical significance. It's the first nationally recognized underground railroad site in the state of Missouri. And it was a location where Mary Meachum, who was a free woman of color, would take people across the river to freedom, to Illinois, to a free state. And so I do not do the stories justice. Angela De Silva, who is a partner on this event, she is with the National Black Tourism Network. She's a professor at Lindenwood University. She tells stories about things that you never knew happened in St. Louis.
Right.
And just everything falls away when she starts talking. But one of them is that folks don't know that the Buffalo Soldiers back in 1897 did a 1,900-mile bike ride from Missoula, Montana to St. Louis in 41 days. They were testing bicycles as vehicles of war, if you can believe that.
In 1895?
1897.
And they had to go from a Missoula here. They couldn't test it any other way.
They wanted to see how, they
Right.
traveled 1,900 miles and the conditions were just
Horrendous.
horrible.
Right, yeah.
A lot of their journey took place on railroad tracks.
I was going to say, because Great Rivers Greenway wasn't around back then.
No, that's right. They would have had a much better trip. But they were greeted here in St. Louis in Forest Park by 10,000 people. Like the whole nation was sort of captivated with this journey. A lot of times they were carrying their bikes. There will be a bike there, not an original, but a replica bike. But I mean, it is not a smooth seated.
I would say,
Not what we have now.
That's
Definitely.
right.
coming from Missoula on the train tracks on a bike, that's a tough ride.
In the summertime.
That is a tough ride.
That's right. It was incredible.
All right. So where and when?
Okay, so it's this Saturday from noon to 5. There's a variety of activities. We've got historical reenactment, which you really don't want to miss. It's at there's choir competition. There's a sunset flag ceremony. There's a barn dance. There's food and drink for purchase. And then you can just sort of walk around the Greenway, see views of the Mississippi.
Right.
Learn a little bit more about the Mary Meachum Freedom Crossing site. And another thing, if you want, you can take a free 10-mile bike ride led by TrailNet that you start at the Biddle Street Trailhead,
Right.
again, just north of downtown St. Louis. And they will take you around to some different historic sites and teach you a little bit about Black history in St. Louis.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
it's family friendly, so
that's
you're not racing and wearing your Lycra. It's something the whole family can do together.
That's a fun bike trail because that goes all the way up to the Chain of Rocks Bridge.
Exactly.
You can go up the Chain of Rocks Bridge, go across the river, go back. It's a nice.
I mean, that's the beauty of the Greenways. They connect you to these places that you never knew about. You know?
Where do we find out more, Ann?
You
What's
can
the website?
go to our website, greatriversgreenway.org, or you can go to Mary Meachum, that's MEACHUM.org. Tell you everything you need to know.
The 15th annual Mary Meachum Freedom Crossing celebration, noon to 5 tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
History all around us. Thanks
That's
for coming
right.
in.
Very nice.
All right.
8:10, Big 5.